The student body at the University of Oregon has a reputation for being an open-minded and progressive community regarding the use of marijuana. In 2014, Oregon residents voted to legalize recreational marijuana. As of October 1, 2015, authorized dispensaries were allowed to sell small amounts of marijuana to adults 21 years and older. Focusing on the University of Oregon, our group decided to look into how much students knew about the new legislation. The main focus of our campaign was to raise marijuana legislation awareness amongst University of Oregon students. In order to appropriately research this topic, we broke down our main goal into 3 subcategories. The first step in our research was to narrow down the scope of the issue. In order to anonymously poll an appropriate percentage of the student population, we created a 22-question quantitative survey. We chose to use a survey because it allowed us to collect standardized and generalizable responses. In addition to the survey, we interviewed 6 University of Oregon students about their use of recreational marijuana, as well as their knowledge of the new recreational marijuana legislation. Once we had completed our research, we found that students know they have to be at least 21 years old to purchase recreational marijuana legally, and that they cannot have marijuana on the University of Oregon campus at all. However, a majority of students seem to be unaware of the specifics of the new legislation, such as the legal amount one can possess, where they can smoke it, and what is currently being sold at dispensaries. After we determined the preliminary levels of awareness, we shifted our research to the actual issue at hand. Our second research goal was to better understand the audience we intended to target. We investigated this goal by forming 3 research questions designed to understand how, where, and how frequently University of Oregon students consumed marijuana. These research questions provided us crucial insight into the lives and practices of marijuana users at the University of Oregon. Through our research, we were able to learn the typical smoking habits of University of Oregon students. Our research showed that the setting rarely mattered to students. Most reported that they would smoke alone, in a social setting, at home, or out in nature. Our research showed that University of Oregon students prefer to smoke flower or dried herb over other alternatives like concentrates and edibles. We also found that 74% of the students surveyed reported that they consume marijuana at least once over the week preceding the survey, and 19% of those reported that they consume marijuana on a daily basis. Our final objective was to test the preliminary campaign strategies we developed throughout our research. During preliminary research, the interviews and responses given to us by fellow students allowed us to formulate multiple campaign strategies we planned to implement to better accomplish our goal. Our survey results indicated an extremely low interest in receiving marijuana legislation from RAs. Through our research, we were able to determine that students were more likely to read information regarding the new legislation on a physical or digital medium rather than have a conversation about it. We also determined that if students needed to have a conversation about the new legislation in place, they would prefer to have a conversation with their fellow peers or workers within the recreational marijuana industry. After our investigation, we determined that if the University of Oregon were to proceed with the campaign, we would advise them to avoid personal conversations with students about the legislation, whether it be an RA or a member of the administration, and instead distribute campaign materials such as infographics to students through digital and physical mediums.